Dear student, as we know that in the previous chapter we have seen the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution. This French Revolution, this French Revolution, which took place in the year of 1789. This was a milestone in the world history. The French Revolution, it was not limited within a country. It was not within the boundary of that particular country. The French Revolution gave a rays of hope to the entire world, and French Revolution was considered as the birth of equality. This French time in the world, we heard, the people heard that equality before law, equality in state, and this some rights, it granted some rights to the entire population in France. This was the first incident in Europe which took place in the Europe. The second incident which took place in Europe, that was the Russian Revolution. It was led by the famous Bolshevik leader. His name was Lenin, Vladimir Lenin. These two incidents gave a 90-angle turn to the entire world history. When we come after, as we finish this French Revolution, dark and the black page of history, and this dark and black page of history known by this person's name. His name was Hitler. This person was very notorious in the history of world, Hitler. Everybody knows, though he was not a great personality, but without taking his name, we can't learn and read the entire history of the world, because Hitler was not a great or a famous person, but without studying the pages of history relating with this Nazism of world history, this Nazism and this Hitler. Nazism is the birth, is the ideology. Hitler gave the birth to this new ideology, and this Nazism was completely depend on the hatred, complete depend on the hate, the discrimination. Okay, the discrimination. Okay, and Nazi, this Hitler, established his entire empire on the basis of fake propaganda. This fake propaganda, and this, the first time in the world we see how a leader can become a dictator, more than dictator. He became the killer of not more than or less than 10 million people in a single country, Germany, under the name of fake nationalism. With the help of fake propaganda, he killed almost 6 million Jews. He considered himself, he belonged to a high race and the Jews belong to the low race. He considered that Jews are solely responsible for the bring his country Germany on back foot, and his entire machinery who was working for to spreading this fake propaganda among the Germany. When we studied about the Germany, we come to know that when we open this lesson, we come to know that this story began with in the springtime of 1945. 11-year-old German boy called Helmut. We started this story from the Helmut. Helmut was a mother and father in a home, and his father was, means not an ordinary person. His father was a physicist, a doctor, but he used to work with Nazi. He was a follower of Nazism. He was a fan of Hitler, and one day his father was telling his wife, that was the Helmut mother, that we must suicide. When his mother asked why, then the first time his father said that this word, keep in your mind, this word, allies. First time he said that Allies forces soon approached Berlin. Berlin was the capital of Germany. Allied forces soon approached Berlin, and they would kill each and every Nazi follower, as we killed 10 million people without no reason. So in the same way, Allied forces would not be let us free. They definitely kill us. And so what happened? Helmut was feared inside and outside. And everybody was taking the doubt on each other. Everybody was seeing towards each other by suspicious eyes, doubtful. And one day what happened? This Helmut father, his father took him on the short trip. They went round, they enjoyed their day, and when they came at the home on the next day, his father shot him dead. Okay, his father was feared about this. Alice force definitely kill us. And when his father was killed himself, at that time this our Helmut was only 11-year-old, and since that day till next 9 years, this little boy did not take a single morsel of food as it cooked inside his own kitchen, because he had a doubt on any other day definitely his mother would mix the poison in his food. So this was the condition, this was the mental trauma of entire Germany people. So for your idea, this Allied forces means England. Okay, first one is England. This Allied forces means France. Okay, and this Allied forces means Russia. Okay, these Allied forces. What happened during the First World War, 1914? The German Empire went in the support of Austrian Empire. Without no reason, they fought war in Europe, and they attack on this France, and they also controlled some part of France. But the story suddenly changed at the entry of, you know that the USA, the superpower at that time, was also, this country had a great impression on the mind of world economics, politics. As in the year of 1907, in the year of 1917, US entered in the war. And this US entered in the war at the same time Germany defeated First World War. It was defeated by the US. Then the entire allies called this Germany, you know that we discussed in our earlier period, this entire allies forces called the Germany in Versailles. In Versailles in France, in the palace of Versailles, and they did there in Versailles a treaty. The name of treaty was Versailles Treaty. Okay, they went there and they discussed some point. This all allies forces consider that the Germany is solely responsible itself, one and only country responsible for the destruction. Germany, it had no other option. They accepted, yes, we are responsible. Then, so they wrote down some conditions. As nowadays America imposed some tariff on India, at that time France, these allies forces, forced to Germany to come into contract, to come into treaty, and they sanctioned some conditions The conditions we discuss in our next period. Stop.